Ammar, guess what? It is. I had to look at the date. Monday, the 10th of November, 2025. We are one day out from the Brazilian Grand Prix, which was hugely fun, and we have got a huge amount to talk about. But first of all, let's do the thing we have to do. Congratulations, Lando. You won a race again.
We have to do, Shez? Oh my goodness. A throwaway line, huh? I mean, the guy who was there a session he wasn't leading in over the weekend? I just, because my memory is a little okay.
Not
all right.
one.
Okay.
I haven't got
We're just gonna do a throwaway line to him.
Like, congratulations, man. What do you want to say? Go on.
No. I think it sounds like he needs to be Max for you to be like, okay, wow.
Honestly, I see the entirety of social media waving their arms about for Lando Norris. That they're all about 12, but right in the front of all of them, I see Ammar. Ammar, go for it. Tell me.
It is quite ironic that I have become the residential Lando fan, where I would have been the guy who would have wanted to see him win the championship the least. I cannot tell you how painful this weekend was for me, because to see my guy get knocked out at turn 1, 5 laps into the race through no fault of his own, and then to realize, Lando Norris is going to be a champion. So I think Ferrari fans, Red Bull fans will all be in agreement that that's not what we want. But good God, there's no other way around it. We got to give respect where it's due.
But listen, in all seriousness though, like Lando actually has, like for the past 4 or 5 races, he's been absolutely on it. Like benchmark McLaren driver. I've said it more than once, and right now this is a completely different driver to the one that we saw at the beginning of the season. Like he bears
ever.
He bears no resemblance to the driver that was shunting it into the wall in Q3 in Jeddah. And kudos to him. Like he's like genuinely, I'm very impressed. Well done. But
wow.
Can we talk about a even better drive? Max Verstappen. I'll tell you what I think in a minute. What do you think?
Yeah, he was standard Max, right? This is what we've come to expect from him. So, what can we say, right? I mean, look, I think the fact that they qualified P16 versus getting into Q2 probably changed this, right? I kept thinking to myself, gosh, what if Max had managed to get into Q2 and maybe didn't make it to Q3, right? Would that have changed the decision? I suppose they could have changed the decision, but I mean, the fact that, they clearly messed up the setup of the car, right? And he qualified so far behind, put a new power unit, change the car to Max's liking, and boom, there you go. I mean, ironically, Shez, this is not the first time we've seen this happen too, right? So Max has done it himself in the past, and then we've also seen Lewis do it in 21 as well, albeit in different circumstances. So amazing drive by Max, but we could come on here every week and say that, and that would be no news at all, Shez. So I don't really have much to say other than Max doing Max things.
Wow. I'm going to tell you what that. I'm going to tell you what that was. That was Max's best drive ever.
Wow.
Like, I put it in the title.
Why do we?
Okay, tell me a better one.
No, but I don't know why we have to do this thing where the last thing we have seen is either the best ever or the worst ever. It was amazing. I don't know if it was. I'd have to think about this. I know
that says more about Max, because I think things get better and better and better. Like
of course,
he just does things.
Of course, yes.
He does things that you consider impossible, but because he makes them look possible, they suddenly become less impressive in your eyes. But I cannot take away anything from a guy that basically in a car that on merit qualified P16. He got knocked out of Q1.
You're not going to hold that against him though, right? That the P16 part, we're not going to hold that. Huh? That's all Red Bull.
Yeah. But
the fact that he qualified, the fact that he qualified P16 is not on him, but the fact that he came through from the pit lane is all him. I just want to be clear.
I love doing these debates with you, because like you every single time I get words put in my mouth. Every single time. Did I say that? Did I say Max Verstappen was phenomenal in qualifying? Did I say that?
I'm asking you.
Anyone
I'm
that's
asking
listening
you
to this, please put in the comments if I said that Max Verstappen's qualifying was his best qualifying ever. Please, if I said that, please tell me. I talked about the race. And I said the race was the best.
But I mean, I'm just saying, give Red Bull some credit. That's all I'm saying.
Done. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because He qualified P16. He was knocked out in Q1, but he started from the pit lane in dry conditions. And if you're going to say, and I will, that I think that Lewis Hamilton's drive from the back of the grid to winning across a sprint weekend in 2021 was his best drive ever, because I think it was, then I have to say that Max Verstappen getting third from the pit lane in that car is Max's best ever drive. Why does it trump other drives that he's done? I think up until Sunday, I probably would have said Brazil last year. Brazil seems to have a way of bringing these performances out just because of the way that it allows you to overtake. But it would have been that. But last year, there was heavy rain. There was a big fat red flag. And no, I don't think he got lucky. But there were other reasons why he was able to do what he did. I was trying to think back to earlier races as well. 2021 came up. Sochi 2021 was one that I was thinking about. Again, that was in fact the last time he was out in Q1. And again, in that race, he finished P2. But again, that owed a lot to the fact that he stuck on wet tyres earlier than a lot of his competitors and was able to carve through the field. But this was in the dry. Yes, he had a new setup. Yes, he had a new power unit. But some of the moves he was pulling off on drivers that he shouldn't be able to pull those moves off on were incredible. Like his move on George Russell. I'm sorry, but you shouldn't be able to do that to George Russell around the outside of turn 1. Right, you really shouldn't be able to do that. I do want to talk a little bit about how they got there, because you're right, Ammar, that is important. You can unmute if you want to. That was important, because I don't think he pulls off that performance without all of the mess that happened beforehand. Because ultimately, if he had kept the setup that they had in sprint qualifying, which would have been perfectly reasonable, I think he probably qualifies in Grand Prix qualifying 6th or 7th, and then he has a fairly mediocre race to 6th or 7th as well. But they clearly knew that the car wasn't right, and they changed it for Grand Prix qualifying. They just went in a completely numpty direction, and it meant that he couldn't get anything out of it. So they did the right thing. If he had got out of Q1, I think it would have been much more difficult to justify starting from the pit lane, but he didn't. So because of that, he starts from the pit lane. They're able to do part firm A rules. They're able to change out the power unit. They're able to change the floor back to the pre-Mexico spec. And he pulls off that drive. But he had to pull off that drive. And he had to pull off some unbelievable moves to do it. And he had to overcome a puncture to do it. In the dry, not in the wet, no red flags. That for me is probably the best drive.
Yeah, I mean,
so go on, tell me why it isn't.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't want to do that. You know why? Because anything I say against this will sound like I am discounting Max's brilliance, which again, I just started by saying Max was brilliant, and that's what you expect. I also think you need to give a fair bit of credit to Red Bull that they were courageous enough to not just change the car, but also threw in a new power unit. And that really helps in Brazil. And that, by the way, has been seen before. So in dry conditions, Lewis Hamilton did more or less the same. So I don't want to put this drive above last year, because what I saw Max do in the rain last year, that I think was sheer brilliance. I think this year with this particular race, with the fact that you had 2 Ferraris out of the equation, you had a couple of safety cars, it helped a lot tremendously. Now, I also want to give a lot of credit actually to Red Bull that I don't think we do enough of. Like we always do this thing where we praise the driver for everything that they've done, and absolutely Max is a bona fide, top 5 driver of all time. So nothing I say here takes away from that. I think quite amazing work by Red Bull to kind of pull off pit stop strategies in a way that I only wish Ferrari would do, right?
Ooh,
what Max also has
strategies, because do you actually think that they followed the right pit stop strategy? Because
I think there's some question about whether he could have been left on the medium, but
okay, so
I don't know. I mean, I had I haven't done a deep dive enough. I mean, Elkan's got me all wound up this morning, but yeah, we can do one now. Please go ahead, tell me.
Because, like, what was the best tire to be on at any given point in that race?
This is an open question. Every race it changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the medium, sometimes the hard. But in this case, medium.
Right.
Yeah.
So probably the best strategy to be on would have been to do a one stop and have the medium. But you're not allowed to do that. But Max.
Yeah, but I think the puncture changed all of that.
Exactly.
No?
So Max managed to get himself into a position where ultimately he was the only driver that did the equivalent of a one stop with two mediums, because he had that puncture and was able to stop under the virtual safety car off the hards onto the medium. He was the only one that really had the opportunity to do medium stop medium, right? And even with that, they chose to go defensive by switching him onto a new set of softs for his final stint, which they could have avoided and just left him in the lead of the race to see if Lando could have got past him or not. And I think Lando, with a championship on the line, Max defending, Michael Dill also in our comments has said he likes to see Max defending on old tyres. Well, he would have got that. Max defending on old tyres in a circuit when you can overtake, I think would have been box office. Tell me I'm wrong.
It may not be. You may be wrong. You may not be. We didn't get to see that, and I think part of again the issue is that because he had that puncture, that probably changed the strategy a little bit too. And I think also that McLaren would have probably played this a little bit differently had that happened too as well, right? They could have changed the timing of it too. So, yeah, it would have been nice to see. I do think the McLaren under Lando's hands had enough to kind of see Max through on at that point. I don't know how many laps he would have been on. It could have been, I don't know, like what, 30 laps plus, Shez? I think, what would the tire difference have been? Like probably 30 laps. I think that wouldn't last long. And I think Max, while aggressive, is not going to, he wouldn't put it over the line, really. Not for one of his best buds. So, again, Shez, this was a brilliant drive. Was it better than last year? No, but I mean, I just... tongue in cheek there. Come on, man. Theater of the mind.
I can take that argument that last year was a superlative drive in,
of course, yeah.
in the wet, but I think with the
McLaren just had a lot of pace.
Max in the wet is a different proposition, right? And I think being able to do that in the dry with a car that probably, as much as Lando was out there saying it was the fastest car,
but they changed the car completely. Yeah, and he's right. They changed the car completely, breaking apart from it. So that's
where they could do that. So I don't think they ever were in a position to have that set up on the car from the word go. So yeah. That had to be apart from a start from the pit lane start to have that result.
Well, again, this is the difference between qualifying P16 and P10 or P11. That would have been a different proposition altogether. Do I think Red Bull would have pulled it off? Yeah, absolutely do. I mean, Shez, again, I'm not here to rank Max's best driver or not. It could be, it couldn't be. They're all best, right? We're now talking about 1A, 1B, 1C. That's what we're doing. We're not even saying top 5. So this definitely ranks amongst it, because I think arguably without the puncture, he could have been fighting for the win, given how they changed that car. I can also see that working itself out too, right? So I would say that that's the case. I just want to take the time to give Red Bull a lot of credit for being as bold as they have been. And this is, again, what you see, we always talk about is success only about the driver or the team, and it's both. And you see them both in sync. You can now see why Max has been reluctant to leave Red Bull all along. Like all of those things that we've talked about throughout the year have kind of played it out, and they have made the right move. Now, in the end, this is still a bad race from him for a championship standpoint, not because he performed badly, but because the results don't help him. And I think being P2 versus P3 is also pretty huge, which kudos to Antonelli for keeping him back. So that's something for us to talk about too down the line. But amazing drive for Max to come from pit lane to put it all the way up there. And you're right, the rain circumstances would have led to red flags and stuff like that. We didn't necessarily have any of that. Yes, we had 2 safety car starts. And so, yes, that did aid a little bit. You do need a little bit of luck, but good God, to see him power through again. That reminded me, honestly, a little bit more of 2021.
Yeah, me too.
Really
me
did.
Too. And
So
I
I think
talked
it's
about
just
that
right there.
race
Yeah.
in massively superlative terms. I think that was a great race for Lewis Hamilton, in the same way that this was a great race for Max Verstappen. And I do think that, especially in this championship season, with the two protagonists that we've had fighting it out for the World Championship, if we look at something like the performance that Max Verstappen put on the board in Brazil and just say it's standard Max Verstappen, I feel like we shouldn't be commenting on Formula One, because to lose the sense of magic that you see in a drive like that and try and break it down into the caveats and the team did this, I think does a massive disservice. One, to the skill that's being displayed behind the wheel, the graft that's gone into doing that, the years and years and years of work that's gone into doing that, but also a sense of the impossible that we're able to see when a master is doing their work. And I think if you lose that, you're losing what the essence of Formula One is. And that's
quite surprised he didn't win the race too, right? You're right. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, he should have. It's as good as a race win. We should actually, Shez, I'm with you. I'm on this train. What do we do now? We go to the FIA and get him 25 points. That's what you would like to do?
Let's move on. All right. So next point of business. Honestly, I'm getting bored of doing this as well, but we're going to have to do it. There was.
You're getting bored of doing this. We're not going to talk about the race winner.
No. We're going to.
Oh, the Piastri.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because look, we're going to have to do it, because I thought during the race it was probably it looked like a slam dunk penalty to me, and after the race, I started to listen to what a lot of drivers were saying. In fact, every driver seemed to blame it on Kimi Antonelli. Charles Leclerc was very vehement in that, saying Kimi should have known that Oscar was on the inside. And then I started to listen to what some of the pundits and experts were saying. Even friend of the channel, Kunal Shah, had a session on Viaplay where he talked about the fact that Oscar was far enough along the inside and shouldn't have got a penalty, blah, blah, blah. I have not changed my mind about that. And I'm going to play some clips, because as usual, I like playing clips. But this time, Ammar, you don't like static images. So guess what? We're not going to do static images. We're going to do some clips. And the FIA, FOM are basically going to come down on us like a ton of bricks, because I know that everybody at the FIA watches us. And I'm sure we're going to get this video completely cancelled. But at least somebody will have seen this in the live stream first. Go on.
Yes. Thank you to all those of you that have contributed through gifts and whatnot. This is what we're doing to upgrade our channel, Shez. Please continue on.
But yeah, so the stewards put this down as a wholly Oscar to blame thing, right? And they've given their justification why. They have said that Oscar Piastri was not far enough, that the overlap wasn't far enough when the drivers got to the apex. I have some contention with that, at least. And Oscar wasn't fully in control of his car because he locked up. So let's have a little look at this. Okay, so remember, not static images. FOM, I'm doing this purely for education purposes. Here we go. Right, so
it should go well.
So this is the cars going into the corner, and there you go, boom. They have a coming together. See, not static.
Where's the apex, Shez?
I gave you the academic. I gave you the dynamic images here. So if we're going to do this, I think that if you're going to call the apex somewhere, it's probably going to be roughly where Lando is aiming his car.
Boy!
Perhaps
so he's not ahead at the apex.
Perhaps generously, you can call it here, but I don't think they ever really reach the apex, because they have a collision here. And if you play the video forward a little bit, there they are. They never really reach that apex, and at no point in that is Oscar Piastri ahead. His front axle is never ahead of Kimi Antonelli's mirror. even in that shot there, I don't think it's ahead. So I'm not sure you can say that at any point Oscar Piastri has his front axle ahead of Kimi Antonelli's mirror. So yeah, if you're going to call it the letter of the law, no, I don't think he's far enough alongside. And I do have another shot of it. You ready?
Oh boy.
Here we go.
He doesn't want to tangle. Oscar Piastri has been given.
Bang. Oh, no. I've missed it.
Boom.
I've missed it. This is really tough. But look, here we go. So this is the point.
Can you imagine how hard it is to adjudicate these things, huh?
Yeah, but we're going to adjudicate it. We don't have all the angles that the stewards.
You're doing it for free too, by the way.
For free, and we're probably going to get punished for this too. But anyway, here we go. So this is Piastri heading in, bang. There we go. So this is where he starts to lock up. Okay. So there's the lock up there. You can see the tyre smoke coming off his tyre. So that's the lock up, and then you've got mirror here. There's the mirror.
Yeah.
And there's
Shez, we can see that. Come
axle.
on.
Now, I'm just doing this because Ammar, I know how much you hate static images, but there we are. This is a static image, and I think this is as close as they ever get to the apex. So I don't think that Oscar Piastri at any point gets to Kimi's mirror, but we are trying to adjudicate a dynamic scenario with a static image. So I'm going to take that on board. I do think that Oscar realised he was driving into a wedge, and by driving into a wedge, that's why he locks up, because he has to brake to not clatter into the side of Kimi Antonelli. And I do think that Kimi probably should have known that Oscar was on the inside, and therefore not turned in as acutely as he did, given that Charles Leclerc did give him some space on the outside. So I take
gave him an airfield.
I take all of that on board. But even with all of that, if you're going to apply the letter of the law, which the drivers have asked for, Oscar Piastri has asked for, Charles Leclerc has asked for, Lando Norris has asked for, I'm not saying Kimi, because Kimi wasn't around when this vote happened, so Kimi didn't ask for this, but everybody else did. This is what you have to play the rules by, and I think it's a load of nonsense. I think it's absolute nonsense.
Oof, wow.
But that's what we've got. That's what we've got. Tell me why I'm wrong.
No, after you putting together such a succinct and explanation with excellent video production and quality, Shez, how could I possibly disagree with you? I agree with you. I mean, I think this. No, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I can see. So I think there are two things that are happening, right? The decision is the decision based on the evidence that you just very prudently showed, walked us through it, and that's exactly why there was a penalty. I mean, that's about as much as it was. So let me speak about the other side, which is what Charles said. I think that what he said also makes sense in that this is a little bit of immaturity from Kimi Antonelli showing up. Like, he should have known that Oscar was coming, right? And he could have given more space. He was given a ton of space. I mean, Leclerc was practically in Argentina for all you know in that turn one. So I can see why he feels aggrieved. And this is, by the way, not the first time that, Antonelli's essentially taken him out, although on this occasion, not totally his fault. So I can see why he's feeling aggrieved. But that, all these things happen bang, bang, Shez. So I really appreciate that explanation. You thought I was going to disagree with you, but I actually don't.
No, I had absolutely no feeling at all that you were going to.
By the way, Cameron's calling you an FIA shill.
Yeah, I know. But I am. I had absolutely
for me. Go on. Shez, I'll just quickly say, for me, this is the problem with these apex rules, right? All you need to do, it seems like, is just find a way to get ahead to the apex. And I think Oscar was essentially sort of trying that until he saw that window close, because I think what he would have wanted is to get far up enough in next to Kimi Antonelli to be able to say, I was ahead at the apex. It just so happens that Kimi turned in so aggressively. And so, yeah, you can see why this is happening. And Kimi's lucky to have been able to continue and be on the second step of the podium, let alone, he could have been out, really.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's kind of weird, but he has nothing to lose.
I mean, so was Piastri there as well. But I'll tell you why. I was in no doubt that you were going to agree with me. It's because Charles Leclerc wasn't the aggrieved part, but wasn't part of the equation other than being on the outside where he was.
I have never seen Charles be in Oscar's position.
If Charles had been the one diving and been
he would never do that. When was the time you saw that?
Mexico, mate.
When have you seen that? Mexico. Come on, you're the oracle. Mexico. He was diving on the inside like this, like you see. They were neck and neck. Shez, like this is your.
When it's Charles, he gets the rules get forgotten, and he gets he's folded, and he gets given a pass. But when it's anybody else, I'm just calling you out because this happens every.
I mean,
this happens.
You are trying really hard, but. I know 2 minutes ago you tried with the whole Max Verstappen thing too. I get it. Like, it's okay. Come on, 0 for 2, Shez. Come on, 3 strikes and then you're out. You got 1 more. Come on, let's move on. I mean, this is about as slam dunk. And look, again, we can also debate the merits or demerits of the decision, but the reality was that Oscar was trying to push really hard and he was trying to get ahead, and he was being way too aggressive. Yeah. And this was expected. Yeah. By the way, he had no control of the car too. Like that is part of the equation.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think that's what happened.
He locked up. I mean, visually there, right? So yeah.
So we're all in agreement, right? Charles should have got a penalty in Mexico, and Oscar should have got a penalty in Brazil. Perfect. Let's move on to. I
already told you that.
3.
I already told you that. You keep. Why do you keep sitting on that? We need to address this here publicly, Shez. Why do you keep sitting on? I came on here and issued you an apology too. What is it that you want now?
I can't let it go. Right, part 3.
You guys heard it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to eat humble pie. I hate it, but I'm gonna have to do it. Honestly, like I don't.
Let me mute. Hang
on.
Go.
You don't have to mute, but I do think that Oscar basically is demonstrating the biggest capitulation I have ever seen. But I want to take you back. I want to take you back to Shez in his youth, as a young free Formula One fan in his 20s. 2010. We get into the final 3 races of the 2010 Formula One World Championship, and I have to say I was a big Mark Webber fan. Right, I felt like I was going for the underdog. I was rooting for the driver that the team really didn't want to win the title that year, and I thought, actually he's pulling it off. He's going to actually win this title. And up until Korea, when he duffed himself up and then qualified in Abu Dhabi that far back, and then managed to box himself up behind Fernando Alonso and couldn't get himself past him. I was rooting for him, and I shouldn't have been. Maybe I shouldn't have been. But then Sebastian Vettel turns up, and the guy that I really didn't want to win the title that year did win the title that year. And I feel like it's just happening all over again. But just like I feel like Sebastian Vettel was not the best driver of 2010, but he still won the title. Lando Norris has not been the best driver of 2025. That driver has been Max Verstappen. There is no doubt about that. But I think he is now going to win the championship. And I think at this point, I said it earlier in this video. I think he has become a different. What are you writing over there? I think he has become a different driver. This is not the driver that we were looking. Let me see the sign. Ammar was right about everything. Sure. Unmute yourself, my friend.
Shez, you know what? I'm really disappointed in you.
Go on.
I'm really disappointed in you.
Go on.
As 2 tired dads, what do we always teach our children? What do we tell them? We tell them that when you're wrong, you say you're wrong and you apologize and you move on. You don't put caveats. You don't put, I thought he was this and I thought he was that and he is not the better driver. We're not talking about any of that. This is, Shez, you're the guy who comes with objective data. And now you're telling me, well, Oscar, Lando's not the best driver, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, why? Just to say you're wrong. Just what does eating humble pie doesn't mean you get to decide what the humble pie looks like. You just got to eat it. That's all you got to do, Shez. No one's asked you to Gordon Ramsay it. Like, no one said that.
So back at the beginning of the championship, right? When Lando Norris was qualifying 6th in Bahrain and Oscar was on pole, no mistakes in qualifying that day, by the way. Did you think that Lando Norris was the better driver?
I didn't think Lando Norris was
so
the better driver. But
I said that Oscar Piastri was the better
hang on,
driver
but this is not about what I said.
Yeah.
Don't do this classic deviation.
I'm telling you what I'm saying. So when I said that Oscar Piastri was the better driver, was I wrong?
Yeah. Shez, but Max Verstappen is the best driver right now. He's not going to win the championship. That doesn't mean anything.
It's not about.
But you're saying that you thought the best driver win the championship. Oftentimes, it's not the case. We had Jenson Button winning one of the years too. Like, I mean, he was not the best driver at that point, but this is what it takes to win a championship.
No, I'm not saying he's an undeserving champion. I'm not saying that.
Then so what is the point?
I'm not saying any of that right now. Lando
I didn't think
Norris,
Oscar was as great as you were making him out to be either. In fairness, so
but you think that Lando Norris
but you're seeing exactly what's playing out, Shez. Well, I mean, okay, so this is the problem, right? So my problem with the way we discern these things and we talk about it is everything has to be, I saw this is either the greatest thing ever or it's the worst thing ever, and we cannot have enough patience to say, okay, it's a 24 race season, there are 6 sprint races, anything can happen, things can change, all of these can happen. So I was of the opinion at the beginning that these two drivers are matched evenly, but I gave advantage Lando. I remember when we did this.
You gave advantage Lando at the beginning of the season.
In part because he had been with McLaren long enough. And my other reasoning for that was he had been up against Max Verstappen. And I have to believe that having lost as badly as he did gave him some lessons. Now, it was frustrating to see him make mistakes. Hey, let me finish. It was frustrating for him to see him make those mistakes. And so, yes, of course, I too doubted that. I mean, Canada was a big one for me where it seemed like he just didn't, that was inexplicable, right? Really. And so, yes, there was that. But again, you know what happens, right? Much like what happened in Brazil after qualifying, when you're Max Verstappen qualifying P16, you have nothing to lose. When you're Lando Norris and you've had that mechanical DNF in Holland, you had nothing to lose. Something happened there where it just sort of clicked for him. He started to not overdrive. He stopped overdriving the car. He stopped thinking about it too much because he had nothing to lose. It just lifts a weight off your shoulder. You make much better decisions. You're much more decisive. All of those things that you would expect come together. Now, one thing I will say, Shez, to your point, we have not seen Lando Norris having to go wheel to wheel and claim a position or defend one, right? That's what we kind of missed out in seeing in Brazil. It would have been amazing to see him and Max go at it in whichever order, whether Max was chasing or whether Lando was chasing himself, depending on how the pit stops work out. So I think there's still that question mark that can remain. But you know, Shez, one thing that all of this says is that McLaren were right in not picking a number one driver because they don't have a number one driver. Both these guys are amazing if given the right car, and they are able to extract the most out of it when conditions are just fine. I personally believe that having seen Lando these last few races, I think the ceiling is much higher, and I think he's showing you that. So whatever has happened there, I think after the Dutch Grand Prix, something clicked in there to say, okay, I need to be better with this car. You have said, Shez, in our last video that a twitchy car is something Lando likes a little bit more, as in more oversteery, right? Not unlike Max, not unlike Charles, not unlike George Russell. These guys seem to be able to extract more out of the car when it's that way. And Lando has figured out, maybe he's gone and studied what Max does or someone else does. I have no earthly idea. Maybe he's seen somebody to help him sort of get past the psychology of this. Shez, one last thing. You can put us back on split screen too. I love the fact, what I love about Lando is I know there's a lot of hate that he gets, and quite frankly, it confuses me. And I'm not a Lando Norris fan, first of all. He wouldn't even make my top 3 drivers of the drivers I'd root for. But I appreciate the fact that we have consistently seen Lando be open, honest, transparent in the way that he can be about how he has done or how he has felt the team done. He had been taking criticism for the team, even at times when we would all agree he deserved to take none of that. Do I think that accounts for something? I don't know. Maybe there's something happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, but clearly Lando has found a way to pair up with his car in a way that he seems to have the car more hooked up than not. So I'm not sure Max Verstappen could have won on Sunday, in part because I saw Lando drive very well, and he put together an amazing weekend if you kind of think about it, right? Led in practice, sprint qualifying. Look at what happened in the sprint too. He managed to kind of keep everybody behind him too. Again, in the race, 2 restarts. Brazil is not an easy track to do restarts when you know you're essentially giving a tow to like 3 other drivers behind. Look what Piastri did in that situation. So I don't know what he's really worked out, but clearly his ascent in terms of how the season has progressed is there. So it's not just about how you start, but how you finish. And he's clearly finishing well. Personally, I don't think the season is done yet. I still think there's some drama to be expected in the next 3 races, but it's really hard to bet against him right now.
I think that was a nice pitch for Lando Norris. That's great. You're very lovely. I'm sure you're going to be on his Christmas card list. But my issue is that you have to look at the season as an entire season, not just 2 races. And for the entirety of this season, as much as anybody wants to say that Lando has been better than Oscar, that's just not true. That is quantifiably not true. I do think that even at his lowest points, he has probably had an underlying pace advantage over Oscar. I don't disagree with that, and I think a lot of that comes down to the way he elicits rotation from his car, this turning, the feeling for grip, the way he manipulates the throttle and the brake, to teeter the car on the edge, to play with those little slides to get it to rotate. I don't think he does that the best on the grid, but I think he is one of the drivers that uses that tool to rotate the car. It's something that Oscar doesn't do. So inherently, yes, I do think he's had more pace. He hasn't been able to unlock it, partly because of a car issue. He didn't have the front suspension tweak that he got in Canada, and ever since Canada, although it's taken some time to do that and some more mistakes since then as well, Belgium, I'm looking at you, he has consistently from then been the quicker driver, and I think he has started to show that side of it. But I've also consistently said that being a quick driver in and of itself isn't enough. You do have to show the other attributes that befit a world-class championship caliber driver, and up until the last 2 or 3 races he hasn't shown that. And I will say that he has in the last 2 or 3 races, because he has nailed the starts, he has nailed the restarts, he's done everything. He's driven with a relaxed demeanor, something that I really wanted to see from him. And I said that if he did the things that I thought he could do, that he should have been doing at the beginning of the season, then I'd give him his props, and I'm giving him his props right now. He is doing those things. But he also crashed into the back of his teammate. He also crashed out of Q3 in Jeddah. He also locked up 3 times chasing his teammate in Belgium, and across all of that time, every time the team made a decision that was in their control to make, it came down on his side. And you may say, well, that's prophetic. Great. McLaren went, even though we've got 2 drivers driving very, very well, and one of our drivers is ahead of the other one, when we make decisions, we're always going to make them when they to favour Lando Norris. That doesn't make any sense to me. Until right now, when I've seen Oscar capitulate massively. Like this is a level of capitulation that I did not think I was going to see, and it's not just a mental and psychological one. I think we do need to talk about Oscar a little bit as well, because I have banged his drum, and I have tried to be nice about him.
I want to just channel what DBC is saying, which is that's the humble pie right there, Ammar. Shez is eating it graciously.
I don't think you're not going to get more.
I think he's being tongue in cheek there, like really. I mean,
you're not going to get more humble pie eating than that, unfortunately.
I just love this, man. I love this.
Because Ammar, listen,
your humble pie feels like something you shoved down our throats that we didn't want. It really just feels like that.
Because what I keep coming back to with this championship is like number one.
Oh boy.
Number one. I think neither of these drivers has been the best driver. And that's why I've wanted Max Verstappen to win this championship ever since Monza. I just thought that entire debacle with the pit stops was just such utter nonsense. It never needed to happen. And I think that Max has been the standout driver of the season, as he has been for the last 4 seasons. And Sunday just iced the cake. And the other part of this is that I just think that if you had one of, let's forget Max, because I think Max would have absolutely just demolished this title.
You needed a Ferrari there, basically. That's what.
If you had Charles or George in that car instead of Lando, how do you think that championship goes?
It goes very differently, Shez. I mean, this is, I'm not going to put George in there because I don't think Mercedes had I mean, candidly, I don't think they were projecting anything that would be looking like championship contention, right? Ferrari are the ones that are the big culprit of the season because they were the ones that finished 14 points off of the championship last year. They were a team that seemed like being on the ascent. They had brought in Lewis Hamilton. Like you thought all the pieces were aligning, right? That's the greatest, sort of issue with the season, because we could have had 3, maybe 4 drivers go at it, 4 or 5 drivers, I should say, go at it, right? If you add Max to it. And we never got to see that, because I think that would have been amazing. I think that would have forced McLaren to keep developing the car, something that they gave up on very quickly, you could argue. And part of why you see the resurgence from Max also is because Red Bull are continuing to develop the car, whereas McLaren have given up on it a while ago, right? So, there's that. It would have been great. It would have been great to see. I think it would have been a headache in and of itself. But that's kind of what you're saying. Shez, I just want to be clear. You said Lando crashed how many times? I was counting there. 2 times, I think.
Replying to Michael Delorso's
did someone say that for me? Oh, thank you. Someone's doing the math. Evidently, my bad recall has gotten some people all wound up. So I wanted to be sure, because I was trying to count how many times Oscar has crashed, right? So I mean, really, okay, fine. Brazil race, okay, man, doesn't matter. Okay, let's not take that, right? But I mean, he did kind of. You just agreed that the penalty was deserved, so there's that. The restart in your home Grand Prix, that was a self-inflicted wound, unless maybe Zach Brown said something, turned something off or on. It could have happened. I'm sure in Baku they might have done something to.
You're going down the sabotage route. Something I have never said.
No, but you. You said. I didn't even use that word, but I'm trying to enumerate the mistakes from Oscar as well, right? Because I think it's easy to dunk on Lando because you saw a lot of mistakes, and yes, they were made. Despite all of that, and despite a mechanical DNF, he leads the championship by how many points now? 24? Good God!
I
totally
agree with you. But
it takes 2 to tango, Shez. So we're not
making those comparisons.
But why don't I hear you enlist all of the mistakes that Oscar has made? I think it's easy to dunk on McLaren, and it's easy to dunk on the FIA. But that's what I'm trying to do. Is so let's see the Brazil sprint. He spun out on his own. I know. Now that's another conspiracy. McLaren told Lando to kind of spill some water on the track, so he did that.
I didn't say that. No, I agree.
I didn't say you said
all
that.
Part of the capitulation. I agree that
Austin was his issue.
Singapore.
And by the way, what he did in the Austin sprint is very similar to what he did in Brazil too. I mean, that was being overly aggressive. He knew that was going to happen too, right? So I think so. There are plenty of And by the way, no one told him to qualify lower.
Can we just come back to that for a second, yeah? Do you think that Oscar shouldn't have gone for that move? Is that what you're saying?
I think that he should have gone for that move if he knew what was going to happen there in Austin, which I think he did. I'm not here to allege anything. In Brazil? Yeah, no, I can see why that happens. I mean, again, like I said before, this is credit to Lando when you're leading in that race on those 2 restarts. To me, that's one of the hardest restarts, right? Because essentially you are creating a huge tow, a massive tow for not one, but like 5 cars behind you. And so, yeah, Oscar kind of came in there. He's also at the point where you can see by his demeanor, he has nothing to lose. That's essentially what he's telling you. And I think that the more interesting topic about this season, should it end the way it is ending now, is what happened to Piastri, right? Because I agree that everything you said about, circumstances not going his way, or, the team's decision coming on his shoulder. I even agree with you on Monza, right? That give the 6 points back if you could do that, right? Fair enough, but still doesn't go to. I mean, that's what some of the fans wanted.
But I don't think that.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm not. By the way, I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm pointing the finger at people who are defending Piastri, saying somehow McLaren and the FIA have conspired against him to make that happen. That's not something you have said. Well, I mean, someone we know, common Oscar Piastri fan, is also kind of said that too, right? So I would just say that. This is kind of worth studying, like what happened there, because I think that there's something that has a more objective explanation than just something that went into Oscar's mind, because he's been a champion, man. I refuse to believe that this somehow just got to him and then it made him worse. I don't think that's the case. I think there's a more objective explanation. Maybe there's an evolution with the car that hasn't happened for him in quite the way. There's more reasonable explanation than just saying, someone just went to him and said, "Yeah, forget about the championship." Like that's what it sounds like.
But I think but I think what has happened is that there has been a combination of two things that have happened.
Yeah.
The first is that he has capitulated. He has, as soon as he dunked it in the wall in practice in Baku, and then did it again in qualifying, and then again in the race, and did a jump start. From a mental psychological point of view, he has been nowhere. Right. That's just one side of it. But the pace deficit since the US Grand Prix weekend has been the biggest problem. And the problem for him is that it has been exacerbated by the fact that his teammate has improved exponentially from a pace point of view. And I think that ceiling was always there. He just didn't have the tools underneath him to exploit that. But as soon as he did, you've had two things happening at the same time. You've had Oscar being at the same level that he has been, but with a psychological dent being put in him because of everything that happened from Baku onwards. But you've also had Lando improving exponentially because because ever since that front suspension modification was put on the car in Canada, from a pace point of view, he has been the benchmark driver. That even in Belgium, he stuck it on pole in Grand Prix qualifying. So he has got that in there. And for Oscar, it has been a two-pronged attack. It has been him declining and Lando improving at the same point. And I think if Lando had that front suspension modification at the first race in Australia, in Melbourne, I think this championship would have had a different story. Yeah. Because he would have had the feeling from the car that he wanted from the word go. He just didn't have it, even though inherently I do agree that I think his driving style is inherently faster. But what you can't do is discount that entire first 2/3 of this championship and say that none of it happened up until Baku.
I'm saying I'm saying
all of the stuff that you're talking about, the crashes that Oscar has had, the Baku thing, you have to remember that when that happened, that was a massive anomaly. You were like, where the heck has this come from? And the problem is that has happened again and again and again. I don't think I was alone in thinking that was the only time that was going to happen. Right?
Yeah, no, I don't think we expected that. I mean, I did. Again,
but he has had mistake after mistake after mistake since
he has had mistake, and everything has been self-inflicted. I mean, none of it can actually be put down. I mean, I know people are all up in arms about the FIA's decision, but to be fair, even if you believe that was not a penalty, that's not a position he should have put himself in. He's lucky to. What happened? No, Brazil. Yeah. And even Silverstone. I think that's probably a little bit more unfortunate and marginal in my opinion. But
the problem with Brazil is that, look, I don't blame him.
He has no choice.
I don't blame him for the move, but he was in that position because he didn't qualify high enough. He should not have qualified behind Leclerc and Antonelli. That should not have happened.
Correct.
Right,
and that's as I said, the quality base is missing.
Yeah, exactly, that for me is a problem, and that is an inherent pace problem. I said after 2024 that Oscar's big issue is a pace issue, and I was massively surprised by the fact that he comes back after the winter break, and across the first 2/3 of the season, he's the quicker McLaren driver. That should not happen. A driver shouldn't be able to suddenly unlock pace over their teammate. That's weird, and now we're starting to understand why, because Lando didn't have that feeling from the front end of the car. And there is something about the fact that he has done team leader things. He has been able to tell McLaren, look, I don't like the way that the front end of this car feels. I don't get the feeling from the seat of my pants that I should be able to be able to extract the pace that I know is in this car, that is over and above what my teammate can get out of it. Yeah. And McLaren acquiesced to that. They said, okay, let's do this. And it's paid him back. But that, I didn't know that at the beginning of the season. He didn't know that at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, he was just saying, I'm just not quick enough. Quote, that is what he was saying at the beginning of the season. Yeah. So when you've got that information in front of you, and the other guy is just doing better, and he's only in his third season in Formula One, I think the conclusion that you come to is that driver has has found another level and is starting to overtake the incumbent driver. I don't see why that's an incorrect conclusion. But now we are seeing the reality of how this season has played out. And with the entirety of the season in front of us, yes, it's absolutely clear that Lando has always been the quicker driver, something that I have not denied from Canada onwards. But the fact that he is now showing himself to be a more complete driver is something new. We do still need to see him wheel to wheel with Max again. We do still need to see him wheel to wheel with other drivers, because I think that Max and other drivers have been dealt with better by Lando's rivals, Charles, George. And also Oscar in Miami. Like I think he was playing 4D chess at a time when Lando didn't have any answers. We've yet to see him do that in race conditions. But yes, I would love to see that happen. And if he does that next season, because that side of it is much easier to learn, I think, than being able to unlock pace that you don't have. But I do still feel like Lando is a driver where Max and Charles and George don't, like, there's still an inevitability about them winning a championship if they're given the machinery. Lando feels like he's learning on the job, but he is learning and he is progressing, and I give him huge credit for doing that. And that's where the humble pie comes in, because I do think that at this point of the season, yes, Lando is a great is demonstrating championship level driving, and I don't think I've got more to say about it than that.
No, I think you've said it well. I think that now we finally gotten the humble pie. It's taken us how many minutes to get there? Like 51 minutes. Yeah, Shez, I completely agree. I mean, this is why, again, I keep coming back to, like, sometimes when we start the season, we start going straight for the best ever, worst ever, those kind of things, right? And I think these are long seasons now. The F1 season is what, a quarter more than it used to be, right? Not too long ago, right? I mean, we're at 24 races. It feels like forever. So this is something that would take the fact that Lando was behind in the championship has everything to do with partly his issues with not adjusting to the car, but also his own mistakes. And I think that if he can drive mistake free, there's no reason why he can't seal the deal. I mean, he's one win away from pretty much taking care of business through and through, right? And that win is probably not coming in Vegas, but I would assume that he's going to be smart enough to get maximum points there and wait to get to the last couple of races there. So, kudos to him. I mean, again, it does pain me to see Lando Norris win before a Charles Leclerc, or even I would admit a George Russell, because we've seen them have those signature wins, and that's the thing that's missing from Lando's resume, is that there isn't a signature win, at least that I can think of, where like, wow, this is like a Monza 24 win or something like that, right? Something that actually sticks in your head. So
yeah, I mean, I think
that's kind of stuff that takes care of the perception, Shez. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, it's a perception issue.
No, I agree, but that's where I come back to my Sebastian Vettel parallel, right? Which is that,
correct. Yeah.
Especially in those championship years. And maybe this was a bit unfair, because I remember a Spanish Grand Prix in 2012, maybe. No, maybe not 2012, 2010 or 2011, where he carved his way through the field between pit stops. Like, he can do that. But I feel like Leclerc definitely not Leclerc. I think Leclerc's great. I think Norris has there's more for him to do to prove to me that he is a top 3 level driver in this current grid.
I think that's
in a way that Sebastian Vettel had to do the same thing for me, and he came out of those Red Bull seasons, and I still wasn't convinced.
Yeah, I know. We've had that discussion. Check out our work. If you take the 4 championships away from Sebastian, was Danny Ricciardo better? I remember that one.
Yeah, I still think he was.
I know you do.
Yeah, but I might be completely out on a limb on that one. Right, okay. Those were the big takeaways. Yes, there was some stuff to talk about Ferrari, but we're going to talk about Ferrari in another video. So Ammar is sighing and who caresing as we speak.
No, I do care.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?
I wish I cared less about it.
Yeah, but we are going to leave the Brazilian Grand Prix there. We're going to have more to chat about regarding Oscar and Lando, I'm sure. But I think the conversation is definitely going to switch up. But as usual, please like, please subscribe, please leave us a comment. We'll read every single one. We'll reply to as many as we possibly can, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Fix John, Fred. He can't do that, right? He's got no power.